20 celebrities who appeared on WWE. Wrestling superstars are larger-than-life personalities, and often move on to Hollywood so that their stars can shine even brighter. But sometimes, celebrities make their way into the squared circle, and that mainstream crossover usually helps the wrestling biz get even more awareness and acceptance. Here are 20 stars who made the biggest impact in and around the ring. Mike Tyson. The baddest man on the planet helped make WrestleMania 14 one of the biggest shows in WWE history. Mike Tyson was the special enforcer in the title match between champion Shawn Michaels and Stone Cold Steve Austin in 1998. Initially aligning himself with the Heartbreak Kid and DX, Iron Mike shocked the wrestling world by counting the pinfall for Austin and KOing Michaels after the match was over. The WWE Hall of Famer returned in 2010, teaming with Chris Jericho, but Tyson pulled a similar move on Y2J, rejoining DX and turning on his partner. Jericho and Tyson have seemingly patched things up, however, as the latter is now an ancillary member of the Inner Circle in rival promotion AEW. Kim Kardashian. About a year after Keeping Up with the Kardashians made Kim and her family household names in America, she appeared as a special guest hostess at WrestleMania XIV in 2008. Kim did an admirable job of hyping the Money in the Bank ladder match, before being rudely interrupted by Mr. Kennedy. Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg is beloved everywhere he goes, and that includes his frequent guest wrestling appearances. He was the master of ceremonies for the Lumberjill match at WrestleMania XIV in Orlando, and also guest-hosted Raw in 2009. The legendary rapper is also a member of the celebrity wing of the WWE Hall of Fame, but crossed over into AEW in 2021, pulling off a splash from the top rope on Serpentico. Snoop's cousin, WWE Sasha Banks, probably should have helped him out on that one. Arnold Schwarzenegger. The iconic action movie star has been involved with WWE for decades. Arnold met wrestling legend Bruno Sammartino at the Mr. Olympia competition in the 1960s, and more than 50 years later would induct his lifelong friend into the WWE Hall of Fame. Schwarzenegger appeared on SmackDown in 1999 and was presented with the World Box Office Championship by Vince McMahon. And in 2014, the Terminator would be back, this time on Raw, to lay out The Miz with a shot to the jaw. Nicole Snooki Polizzi. The popular pint-sized star of Jersey Shore never shied away from throwing down on TV, so joining the WWE was a perfect fit. She appeared on Raw in 2011 and got in a fight with Michelle McCool, which later led to a mixed six-person tag match at WrestleMania XXVI. Snooki was impressive in her first-ever wrestling bout, pulling off a handspring with flips and cartwheel splash finish to get the pinfall win. Hugh Jackman. Hugh Jackman has made a handful of WWE appearances, and they were pretty memorable ones. The first was in 2011, when Wolverine himself guest-starred on Raw and seemed to be genuinely enjoying himself when he was interrupted by Vicky Guerrero and Dolph Ziggler. Later in the program, Jackman got involved in Ziggler's match with Zack Ryder, landing a stiff right hand to Ziggler, allowing Ryder to get the upset win. Then in 2014, Jackman returned to Raw, alongside Ziggler this time. After being confronted by Damien Sandow dressed up as Magneto, Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart is usually known for his sharp wit, but he showed off more than that in 2015. After Seth Rollins claimed on Raw he could become the new host of The Daily Show, Stewart took exception, cutting a pretty great promo, referring to himself as 160 pounds of dynamite. Stewart and Rollins went back and forth for weeks on each program, before a confrontation on Raw led to Stewart delivering a low blow on Rollins. When Stewart was later announced as host of SummerSlam, fans expected another run-in with Rollins, but Stewart turned the tables on everyone, nailing John Cena in the gut with a steel chair and helping Rollins win the US title. Talk about a swerve. Pamela Anderson. Pamela Anderson was at the peak of her fame in 1995, and WWE was fortunate to have the Baywatch star make several appearances on various programming that year. In anticipation of Anderson at the Royal Rumble, they produced a few skits of wrestlers falling all over themselves for the blonde bombshell. After promising she would accompany the winner of the Royal Rumble to WrestleMania 11, Anderson returned not on the arm of Rumble winner Shawn Michaels, but instead on that of his opponent, Diesel. After pinning Michaels to retain his championship, Big Daddy Cool left with both Anderson and Jenny McCarthy, who had been the valet for HBK that night. ShaquilleONeal. ShaquilleONeal had many nicknames and colorful moments during his time in the NBA, so it was no surprise that he found his way into the world of sports entertainment as well. Shaq Diesel first popped up in wrestling with WCW when he celebrated Hulk Hogan's win over Ric Flair at Bash at the Beach in 1994. In 2009, O'Neal was the guest host of Raw and got into a physical altercation with fellow 2.15m, 7-foot-tall, athlete Big Show. Then in 2012, Shaq had another encounter with Hogan, this time on TNA Impact. O'Neal finally participated in an actual match when he entered the 2016 Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal at WrestleMania 32. He was supposed to square off against Big Show the following WrestleMania, but the two sides could not come to an agreement. Most recently, O'Neal fought in a mixed tag match against Cody Rhodes in AEW earlier in 2021, and pulled off an impressively huge spot by going through a table from the ring apron. Drew Carey. Drew Carey may not be the first name you associate with professional wrestling, but he's actually in the celebrity wing of the WWE Hall of Fame for one memorable moment. At the 2001 Royal Rumble, the comedian stopped by for a meeting with Vince McMahon, but ran afoul of the boss for flirting with Trish Stratus. Vince tricked Drew into becoming the first celebrity to compete in the Rumble, joining at number 6. Unfortunately for Carey, the number 7 entrant was Kane, all 2.15 meters 7 feet of him. Before Drew could get chokeslammed to hell, or even worse, Cleveland Raven entered the match and the distraction allowed Carey to escape the ring. Betty White. There's not a soul alive who doesn't love Betty White, and she was game for pretty much anything. Case in point, she hosted an episode of Raw in 2014, being escorted to the ring by Big Show and even having a tea party with the New Age Outlaws. When they attempted to pull a prank on the former Golden Girl, she turned the tables on them, because nobody puts one over on Betty. Logan Paul. Logan Paul is a polarizing figure to say the least, so his appearance at WrestleMania 37 had to feel a little cathartic for those who don't care much for his antics. The YouTube star was invited to the show by Sami Zayn as a special guest for his match against Kevin Owens. Zayn lost and was promptly shoved to the mat by Paul, who was mercilessly booed. Paul tried to celebrate with the winner, but Owens hit him with a stunner in a classic moment of comeuppance. James Brown. Yep, the godfather of soul himself once graced the squared circle. James Brown appeared at the 2000 Super Brawl for a dance-off with Ernest the Cat Miller. The crowd in San Francisco ate it up, and it must have been a personal highlight for Miller, who considers Brown to be one of his heroes and inspired a lot of his funky dance-based gimmick. Mr. T. The very first WrestleMania in 1985 featured 2 mainstream celebrity appearances designed to create buzz around this never-before-seen event, one of whom was Mr. T. The Rocky III actor was booked in a main event tag match with his co-star Hulk Hogan against Rowdy Roddy Piper and Paul Orndorff. The hype for this bout was off the charts thanks to weeks of lead-up events, beginning with a brawl on MTV. T and Hogan won the match, and the following year, T beat Piper in a boxing match at WrestleMania 2. He would later be named a special enforcer, and would be pressed into service against the likes of the Honky Tonk Man and Bobby Heenan. When Hogan made his way to WCW in 1994, his friend joined him, and later defeated Kevin Sullivan at Starrcade. Cyndi Lauper. The other Hollywood star to appear at Madison Square Garden for WrestleMania was pop singer Cyndi Lauper, and she was perhaps even more instrumental in getting mainstream cred for WWE. Lauper had befriended wrestling legend Captain Lou Albano, who famously played her dad in the music video for her hit single Girls Just Want to Have Fun. She returned the favor, appearing on TV and getting into a feud with Albano. That led to the WrestleMania I match between Wendy Richter and Leilani Kai, with Lauper and the fabulous Moolah acting as their respective managers. Lauper held her own at ringside, and the crowd ate it up. Stephen Amell. Few celebrities got as deep into the wrestling business as Stephen Amell. On a 2015 episode of Raw, Cody Rhodes provoked the Arrow Star at ringside, challenging him to a match. Amell performed well in that match and subsequent WWE bouts, and he'd help his new friend Rhodes land a recurring role on Arrow as well. Amell would continue teaming with Rhodes in Ring of Honor in 2017, and later competed against Christopher Daniels in 2018 in an independent one-off event. Bad Bunny. Usually when celebrities appear in wrestling matches, not much is expected of them athletically. But Bad Bunny was apparently determined to prove he belonged in the ring in 2021. The Puerto Rican rapper got revenge on The Miz at the Royal Rumble for trashing his turntables, going off the top rope to flatten Miz and his partner John Morrison at ringside. Later on Raw, Bad Bunny's partner Damian Priest laid out 24/7 title holder R-Truth backstage, allowing the international music sensation to pin him for the belt. But he'd saved the best for last at WrestleMania 37, unleashing an impressive array of moves against Miz and Morrison, including arm drags, DDTs, a Falcon Arrow, and even a Canadian Destroyer. Not Bad Bunny. Chuck Norris. It's well established that you don't mess with Chuck Norris, but a few wrestlers at the 1994 Survivor Series didn't get the memo. The Walker, Texas Ranger star, served as the special enforcer for the Undertaker vs. Yokozuna casket match at that event, and kept the likes of Bam Bam Bigelow and King Kong Bundy away from the action, and later delivered a karate kick to Jeff Jarrett. Norris would also appear alongside a handful of other stars who hit the ring to celebrate Goldberg's win on Nitro in 1999. Dennis Rodman. It's rare that active sports rivalries spilled over into the world of pro wrestling, but it happened in the 1990s. NBA legend Dennis Rodman spent a lot of time in WCW throughout the decade, often teaming with Hulk Hogan. Rodman would sometimes wrestle on Monday and then play basketball the next night. Then in 1998, Rodman would team up with Hogan again at Bash at the Beach against Diamond Dallas Page and Utah Jazz power forward Karl Malone. The wild thing about this situation was that the Bulls and Jazz had just faced each other in the NBA Finals that year. Rodman even skipped practice with Chicago up 2-1 in the series to be at Nitro. The Worm was victorious all around, however, beating Malone on the hard court and in the ring. Donald Trump. We just couldn't do a list like this without mentioning Donald Trump. The former president of the United States, which is still weird to type, much less think about, made frequent appearances in WWE, as a longtime friend of Vince McMahon. Trump first appeared in 2007, interrupting McMahon on Raw and dropping money from the rafters onto the fans below. After challenging Trump to a Battle of the Billionaires match at WrestleMania 23, McMahon was forced to have his head shaved bald when Trump-backed Bobby Lashley defeated Vince's Umaga. That led to easily the most iconic moment of Trump's WWE career, getting stunned by Stone Cold Steve Austin following the match. The Donald would continue his on-screen feud with McMahon in 2009 when he'd purchased Raw, forcing Vince to buy it back from him for twice the price. But it's all about that stunner, really. Watching that almost makes up for the 4 years he was president, almost.